If you look closer, you realize that you always have thoughts. Like little tiny thoughts. They are imperceptible because most of the time our attention is not that developed in order to see the subtle. Like now, for example, there are many subtle sounds. They hit your ear, but you cannot hear them because there are bigger sounds which they occupy your attention. It's natural. Look, what I just said has the role for you to understand that the self is not an experience. The self is not the experience in which you feel relaxed because you don't have the thinking mind running. And God knows how many people are making this mistake. In Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta tradition is maybe the most common mistake possible, and it can keep you spinning for many, many years. If you see yourself falling into a state and calling that state a self, then you'll start thinking that everything else which is not that experience is not the self. So then you put yourself into a crazy trouble. So if the self is the self, you have to see it in the presence of the mind even, in the presence of thoughts. But realize what exactly you are calling the self. If you have a definition for self, look into it. What exactly is this? How come now in the ashram meditating I'm in the self, and then when I walk away from here, something happens, my mind starts to spin, and then the thought of I'm not the self comes on the surface. Can you witness all this play, all these games in yourself and stay out of it? And even experience joy when the mind comes to tell you, oh, you are thinking now, you are out of the self. Experience joy because you are being there to listen, to being able to hear that, and not to let yourself get engaged into that whatever follows after, madness. Oh, I have to chase the self again, I have to meditate more, and whatever, like the mind is like a spinning wheel. Just give a little bit of impulse and then starts to spin on bigger and bigger radius from the center. Just a little impulse, and then starts to spin. And if you find yourself in this stage in which the thought of I'm not the self starts to make the mind spin very fast and very heavy, and stay there, listen that. Know that is not true. Know that it doesn't even matter what you are, as long as you try to define yourself with the mind. Makes no sense anyways. Why I even use this word joy? I use this word joy because all these instances in which the mind tells you that you are not that, you are not arrived yet, you still have to do something, they become joyous moments because they make you realize. They make you realize the mistake in which you were and you didn't know. They make you realize that you called an experience the self, and you are chasing that experience, thinking that it is the self. So it's a moment of liberation from one particular bondage. Then of course you have the trouble of not knowing who you are, but that's another issue. While before you knew that, wow, if I stay in ashram, I meditate, I reach the self, I know that I'm the self there. And now this mind comes and haunts me, and oh, I don't know who I am anymore. If that is not the self, this mind is not the self, who I am? Who is this self, really? What is what I call self? For whom is so important if I'm there or not? It's very good inquiry.